Do you want to move to Korea? Are you planning on studying abroad? Maybe in Korea, maybe somewhere else. Do you just want to know how to move to a whole new country and what it's like to move to a new country? Maybe you're just watching this because it's been in your recommended for a couple of days and you're thinking of clicking on it. And you're watching it now. Hello. Whichever one of those questions you're probably asking, or any other questions, I will most certainly be answering them in this video. Hi besties, it's tihanaMae, aka T, aka ex-exchange student. And if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm tihanaMae. I'm 21 years old and I'm a UK university student. Wait, should I say that in Korean? Oh my gosh, wait. 안녕하세요, 제 이름은 tihana입니다. 저는 21살이고 대학생입니다. 영국 대학생입니다. Welcome to my channel. Hello. In today's video, I will be answering the community's questions about studying abroad in Korea, moving to a whole other country. They asked me a bunch of questions, and in today's video, I will be answering every single question. I literally have all of them up on my iPad right now, so I'm ready to answer the questions. Are you ready? I'm ready. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. Check out my entire Korea vlog series whilst you're on the channel to see my experience and all the fun times that I had whilst in Korea. And yeah, let's get right into this video. First question, let's go. Was Korea what you expected it to be? Yes and no. I did a lot of research on Korea before I went. I started researching about Korea in 2017 and ended up leaving for Korea in 2020. So you can see I did a lot of research. The only thing that was unexpected about Korea was the weather. I didn't realize that the weather can be so extreme in Korea, where it can be extremely cold, where at one point we were snowed in the dorms. And then on the flip side, it can be really hot and you're melting on the buses. What do you use to study / learn Korean? Are you fluent in language? I am not fluent in Korean. I can speak enough Korean to survive out in Korea. I have been learning Korean since 2017 and I'm still learning to this day. What I used to study and to learn Korean is talktomeinkorean.com. All their resources on both their website and on YouTube. I even used their app at one point. I used Go Billy Korean stuff as well, his books. He's actually the one that taught me how to read Hangul. The other resources that I used to learn Korean was basically just to absorb as much information about Korea as possible and absorb as much language as possible. So if that meant I had to watch a V-Live and try not to read the subtitles and just see how much I can understand from when they're talking, or watch a Korean drama, or listen to K-pop and Korean music and try and follow along with the rap lyrics and try and rap alongside them. I basically just absorbed as much Korean as possible in my day-to-day life. Even my Siri on all my Apple devices is in Korean, so I have to speak to her in Korean in order to ask her questions. So I could be like, Siri야, 지금 날씨가 어때요?
현재 날씨는 비가 내리는 상태이며 온도는 섭씨 4도입니다.
And that was me asking her for the weather. So that's how I learned Korean, by like absorbing and trying to utilize it as much in my day-to-day life as possible. And that's just helped me to learn the language even better, I feel. Are people racist? Now this is a very interesting question because it all depends on your own experience of racism. I personally never experienced racism. Maybe xenophobia I experienced, but not outright racism. So I can't exactly say if Korea is a racist country or not. I would like to say it's not, but I've never experienced racism in Korea, so I can't really speak to that. And I was only out there for an entire year. There's people who are out there for their entire lives and are black or are other races, and they may have completely different situations and experiences to me. So I can't exactly say yes or no, but I know that I felt a bit different than other people, but that's because I'm a black girl from London rolling about in the streets of Seoul, so that's to be expected. But honestly, most of the time, especially with the older generation, they were always looking after me and making sure that I was okay. You know, they would come up to me, maybe one or two ajumas would like grab onto my hair and like try to pull my hair and be like, oh my gosh, your hair's so pretty, like saying it in Korean and stuff. But other than that, like, no, I never experienced any racism or any kind of like outright discrimination. But there are definitely parts of Seoul where there's like controversial signs that are like Koreans only or no foreigners because of coronavirus, and that's very bad. But other than that, yeah, I can't really say if Korea is a racist country or not. How long do you think is best to stay in Korea for studying? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, more? I think you should try to stay in Korea for studying as long as you can. I did it for the entire year, so it was 2 semesters, but I knew people who only did it for 1 semester. I would personally recommend doing 2 semesters because after the first semester, it felt like I was still adjusting to life in Korea. A lot of my other friends who did the 1 semester, they were able to do so much because they didn't have to establish like bank accounts and alien registration cards like how I had to, because I was going to be staying for a longer period of time. So they had all the best times and was going around the entire country and doing whatever they wanted to do. But after the first semester, I was still trying to set up things and get things in line. So that being said, I feel like you should do as long as you possibly can. If your university is offering you to do the whole semester and do another semester, do that. But if you only get to do 1, then it's whatever in it. You definitely have enough time to do whatever you want, regardless of which option you choose. Is the subway system hard to use if you don't speak Korean? Yes and no. If you don't speak English, it may be even more difficult. In the Korean subway system, they have these iPads on the wall which tell you the names of the station in Korean and in English, and I think Chinese and Japanese. And the announcements are in Korean and in English. So you'll hear like, next stop, Naksongdae. Next stop, Jamsil Station. Like you'll hear like the voice above saying that. Train's coming. So I don't think it is that difficult if you don't speak Korean. The only way that I think it will be kind of difficult if you don't speak Korean is on certain lines where there aren't signs in English or where there aren't overhead voices talking all the time and translating the words that are being said in Korean. But I think that's maybe like 1 or 2 lines. And I lived on line 2 because I was in Gwanak, so I had no problems with the subway. It was always in English and always just very easy to navigate. And also I'm a Londoner, so I'm used to the tube system. Any things that you wish you had known before? The alien registration card process is actually quite long. I wish I knew that before I moved to Korea. I would have got a lot of things done ahead of time because I had the option to, but I just chose not to. Fortunately, my university helps me a lot with that process and I was able to do it through them. Maybe try and make some friends in Korea or make some Korean speaking friends and they might be able to help you with the whole process. Also, I low-key wish I knew that my university campus was gonna be so mountainous. I knew that Gwanak was a mountain, like Gwanak-san. I knew that was a mountainous place, but I didn't think my campus was gonna be so mountainous. There were times where I'll be walking around campus and my legs are on fire because I'm climbing up steep hills, just trying to go to the canteen from my dorm. So yeah, I kind of wish I knew about that before I moved to Korea. Is it easy to find black hair products? Yes and no, it depends on where you look. You can obviously find like olive oil and that stuff in like your supermarket, but in terms of hair shops and like places that sell hair products, you may want to look in pt1. That's where all the foreigners hang out and stuff, and you probably will find like a place that's selling stuff in there. I personally got my stuff from Honey Hair Korea. It's a website. I think they have a physical store, maybe in itaewon, I don't know. I'll link their website in the description below. Definitely check them out. All the times you've seen me with new hair when I was in Korea, it was because of them, and they were honestly a lifesaver. I was so worried about my hair when moving to Korea. I bought enough hair products from London to bring over to make sure I was good on that front, but I was worried about braiding hair and they made sure I was all okay. And I think they have weaves and wigs and everything on there, so definitely check them out if you're moving to Korea. How did you adjust with the whole air pollution situation? I didn't really find the air pollution to be too much of an issue. There was one day that I woke up and the sky was green, and then a couple hours later the sky was orange, and that was a bit terrifying. But other than that, like, I never really had too bad of an experience with it. Adjusting to it just meant that I went out when it was clear to go outside, and when the day said that it was purple, like there's an app that shows you different colors, or like if it's gonna be a good day for air pollution or a bad day. When it was purple, or like showing like the nuclear sign saying don't go outside, I made sure to stay inside. There was one time that I did actually go outside when it was like purple, and my chest was feeling so heavy afterwards. And I don't know if it's like a placebo or like a mind trick or whatever, but I know that when I got inside, I felt my chest was so heavy afterwards. So adjusting to the air pollution stuff, it wasn't too difficult. I just made sure to wear a mask on the days that I had to go outside when the air quality was bad, but most of the times I just stayed inside and tried to keep my windows closed as much as possible. What is the food delivery like? Any experiences with delivery people we should know about? Food delivery in Korea is actually really easy, especially for foreigners. It's very easy. I ordered food all the time because sometimes you just don't want to cook and they have really good food available. I use pt1 or Yogyo because you didn't really need a official Korean number that had an alien registration card attached to it, like how you need it for pt1 or like all the other apps and stuff. So because I had a prepaid SIM, I could use it. When I was using the delivery apps, I realized very quickly that you do kind of need to know some Korean. So I would advise you to learn Hangul before you move to Korea, and to just know basic like sayings and words and little things here and there. When I would be ordering food on the delivery sites, there's like a message section that you can leave a message for the delivery driver, and in that section I think it's imperative to tell them that, by the way, I'm a foreigner, just in case like you're trying to contact me and I don't exactly understand what you're saying, I'm a foreigner. So what I would write in the section is 저는 외국인입니다. 한국말 못해요. 빌딩 넘버 동입구 밖에서 기다려주세요. 올 때 메시지 감사합니다. That's basically what I would write in every single delivery section. The only times where there's been like slight issue is this one time this guy was calling me, telling me like, hey, like, oh, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, where are you? And he's like, oh, shit. And I'm like, sir, I'm gonna need you to say that to me one more time. And he's like, and I'm confused because I'm like, I don't understand anything that he's saying. He's saying it so loudly. He's just shouting into this microphone right now. And I'm very confused. So I'm like, sorry, one more time. Tell me what you're trying to say. And he's like, shit, you. And I'm like, oh. He was waiting outside the CU near my building. Made sense. So I went downstairs and collected the food. So that was the only time really that there was like an issue. But yeah, definitely learn like as much Korean as you possibly can before you move to Korea, but the basics, learn Hangul so you can read the food. Sometimes the apps don't translate to English. Learn simple words like 배달, which means delivery, 도착 or 도착합니다 or 도착했습니다, which means arrived or I have arrived or I'm arriving. I would definitely say learn how to count or like learn time in Korean as well, because when you're ordering things, whether it be food or like if you have a parcel arriving, they may text you saying like how many minutes they are away. So when it says like 2분 후 도착합니다, that means like in 2 minutes I'm gonna be here. So basically get yourself ready. Oh yeah, and know the word for outside and okay. So 밖에서 is outside and 알아서 is okay. So not like okay as in 괜찮아, like you're okay, but okay as in I understand. So if someone's like, oh, I'm here, and you're like, oh really? Oh 밖에서, like, are you outside? And they're like, yeah, I'm outside. And you're like, oh, okay, 알았어. And then you hang up the phone and then you go and meet them and collect the food. So learn delivery specific words. That's my recommendation. What apps and websites did I use when I was in Korea? An excellent question. In terms of apps, I used a bunch of Kakao apps. So Kakao Talk to talk to people, of course. Kakao T to take taxis around. Kakao Maps, Kakao Metro. The Metro one is very good for those who may struggle with like navigating the train system. I used Naver Maps mainly. It was very helpful. I used the air quality app, which was really useful for like knowing when to go outside. I used the currency exchange one, so I wouldn't treat Korean money like it's monopoly money and actually ration and spend wisely. In terms of websites, I used Coupang, which is like Korean Amazon. And I use that quite a lot just to get things here and there, get a lot of skincare on there, pretty cheap. I also used Is Home Plus Open, fluent.com, I think it's called, which basically tells you if supermarkets are going to be open on that day, because randomly sometimes there's like a holiday or a random closing, and if you're not 100% sure if your supermarket's going to be open, you should just Google is Home Plus open and open it up, and it will tell you if it's open or not. And if Home Plus is open, all the other supermarkets in the city are going to be open. And the other one that I use, which was really useful, is TransferWise, but I think they've changed their name completely to just Wise, and I use them to transfer money from my UK bank account to my Korean bank account, because I had a Korean bank account at the time, and it just saved me so much hassle. Instead of having to go all the way to the bank to go do the transfer, I could just do it online and do it that way, because online banking and mobile banking is a bit strange in Korea. It's not quite as how it is in the UK or in other countries, so there is like slight issue with transferring money from international accounts, but doing it through TransferWise, or Wise now, was a lot easier than doing it in the bank. How should I prepare for traveling abroad? Definitely look up things to do with yourself. Look up your race, look up things to do with your religion, sexual and gender identities, anything to do with like things specific to you. Look up those things in relation to Korea or to the country you're moving to, and then try and figure out if it means that you can't go to the country because you'll be unsafe, or if you can still go to the country but like avoid certain areas. Like do a lot of those kind of searches and just make sure that you're safe. That's like the main important thing. Just make sure that you're safe in the country. Also, figure out how much money you're gonna have coming in, and also how much money you may be spending per month or however long you're gonna be out there. If you're just going for a holiday, figure out how much money you may be spending roughly on food or for spending money or travel, and then make sure that your accommodation is set up properly. I know that because of COVID-19, some people may have to quarantine, so figure out if your visa or the reason why you're coming into Korea allows you to stay with the Korean government in their government hotels, or if your visa allows you to do like what I did, where I was able to stay in the Airbnb for my quarantine. You're gonna have to figure out all these things in preparation, and also look up if you need any boosters or any kind of updates to your vaccines. I got so many vaccines within the preparation period that it very much felt like I was a pincushion. I got this random vaccine that was like something to do with like Japanese-esque something to do with like getting bitten by a bug whilst in nature, and I got that one specifically because I knew that my area for my university was quite mountainous and there's a lot of bugs and stuff, and if I was ever going to go hiking, I didn't want to come in contact with anything whilst I'm out there that could potentially hurt me or cause damage to my health. It was quite costly, but I feel like it just gave me a bit of peace of mind, you know? So look up your vaccines, look up your health stuff, look up visas, make sure you get the right visa. I know some people who got the wrong visa and had to try and figure out how to get the right one whilst abroad, and it was a lot of hassle. Always read the fine print of your visas. There may be hidden costs, like I had to pay for my visa. There were some hidden files that I needed to bring with me to the visa application meeting thing. So make sure to read the fine print of all the visa stuff that you might need. If you need a visa, I know because of COVID, there may be some different kinds of visas now. So read everything, look up everything. Don't be afraid to call the embassy and ask questions. Definitely do that, ask questions. So what was the visa process like? I would say it was very long, and I had to fill out a lot of forms. I also had to print out a lot of documents, and I printed out extra documents just in case they needed it, so that if I went to the meeting to give them everything that I had and they were like, oh, like we needed this, like if I forgot to read a fine print, I would be like, oh, you need something? Oh, let me just, you know? I had so many different bank things and medical things and all these other things printed out. I had to get a chest x-ray to prove I didn't have tuberculosis. I had to get my blood test done so I can move into my dorms, but I still brought the blood test with me just in case they wanted that as well. Like, it was so much stuff that I had to do, and I made sure to bring every single thing with me to the visa hand-in ceremony. I don't know what it was called. What was it called? What tips would you give to students on how to pack efficiently, what to bring with you, what's best to buy when you get there? I would say bring all of the essentials that you don't think you'll be able to get in Korea. So like for me, I use a specific deodorant because I sweat a lot, and I was like, I'm certain I'm not gonna be able to get this specific deodorant when I'm in Korea. So I bought so many of that one deodorant. I'm still using them to this day. Also, I would say definitely pack a winter jacket. Pack a winter jacket. Like that should be the first thing you should pack. A winter jacket, and not like these flimsy like puffer jackets and stuff. You need something with insulation and like something that will keep you warm, because if you're staying in Korea past November, maybe even late October really, you need a winter jacket because it's gonna get so cold ASAP. Like as soon as it hits October, November time, it is like an ice kingdom. It's just so cold. And when it was snowing, I was so thankful because I would have been shivering. I knew people who only had jeans jacket. Imagine only having jeans jacket and it's snowing outside. Wow, the struggle is real. So make sure to get a good like insulated winter jacket if you're gonna be staying in Korea past October, November time. And then also just pack good walking shoes, because I feel like you walk a lot when you're in Korea, so just pack some really good walking shoes. And also going out clothes. Pack going out clothes because you go out for dinner all the time and you may not be able to get dresses or like good shirts and good jeans and stuff unless you can fit into Korean sizes and don't mind spending a bit of extra money. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any more questions about Korea that I can answer, or about moving to another country, or moving during the pandemic, or moving in general. Let me know if you have any more questions. I will gladly answer those questions down below. And yeah, make sure to follow me on all my socials down below. Be kind, drink water. I love and appreciate you all. Be great. Yeah.